Power Play Perspective, Episode 3. A lot to go over here. The end of the regular season, the last few games happening there, round 1 of the playoffs, regular season awards. A lot to get into. But first, let's go over, I suppose, the last few regular season games before the playoffs. So I believe where we left off was the first Moose and Redcoats game. Now, they played again on the 8th, and the Redcoats steamrolled them 10-0. Jeffrey Lull finishes with 4 goals, 5 assists, 9-point day for him, very good. Landon finishes with 3 and 3 for 6 points, and Cyrus picks up 3 goals and 2 assists of his own. 10-0, I mean, it's not the worst result the Moose have seen, but they didn't have a good roster that day, and it was also a 3v3. Hard for them to really do anything, but it's not exactly that it was an expected outcome. They overperformed when they lost 3-0 the previous game. Okay, next game, the Hartford Bucks face the shorthanded Halifax Highlanders, an upset win. Very good for the Bucks, and this one and these last 2 games ended up being playoff series previews. One of which went about how we expected. So did the other one, but not in comparison to this game. Atomic with 1 goal and an assist ended up being the game winner. Sage had the game-winning goal. No, Chronix, I'm not looking at YouTube chat, you gremlin. Go do something. Gabby Hockey finishes 9 for 9 with a shutout as well as an assist. Very good day here, and get out! Fucking weirdo. Anyway, very good day all around for Hartford. The offense non-existent for Halifax, missing Kazu and net. I went to go play net instead. Didn't exactly go great. Emotion, SEP, and Q, no stats at all to speak of. Wasn't a good game there for them, but they bounced back pretty quick. Alright, next up, the Montreal Moose face the Grand Rapids Thunderhawks. Sports, go away. Go somewhere else or I'm kicking you. Okay, Jesus Christ, these idiots are pissing me off. Okay, Montreal takes on the Grand Rapids Thunderhawks, a 1-0 overtime win. Huge in playoff implications. Montreal finally gets some of their form going. Moshi with one goal and game winner, pushing strong to be a Rookie of the Year finalist at that point. Ends up getting it. Bit of a spoiler. DJ Hockey goes 7 for 7 for a shutout and gets an assist. Bricey Boy finally starting to put it together, gets an assist. So it's a huge game, and for Grand Rapids, this just sums up their season about as well as you can. I mean, Sports goes 3 for 4, Blazing, Coops, and Fish. No offensive stats to speak of. That's a bad loss. For a Montreal team who just come off a 10-0 defeat, yeah, I mean, you just can't let that happen. You know? But, very good game for the Moose. Finally able to get into the win column for the first time. And, I think they needed that to save their season. I feel like if they didn't get this win, then the whole season was just chopped at that point. But Grand Rapids, that's a bad loss. I know you get a point out of it, but you needed a win. You needed the 2 points there for a team that you're better than, realistically. So Grand Rapids is a failure of a season all around. Next game, the Montreal Moose play again, this time against the Hartford Bucks, and win again, 3-2 in overtime. Moshi with the hat trick and the game winner. Atomic and Sage pick up goals as well for Hartford. DJ was pretty decent. He had a 750, went 6 for 8, got an assist. Gray got an assist as well for Montreal. But for Hartford, I mean, Sage and Atomic played pretty well, but nothing to speak of for PSM. Chef Curry gets on the board with an assist. Good to see for him. As he's been a bench player, hasn't really gotten any ice time all season. And then a bit of a rough day for Gabby, going 2 for 5, 400 save percentage, but does pick up an assist, so not a complete failure. Next game, the highly anticipated game of the year, everyone said, and it was decent. The Americans take on the Niagara Knights, the top 2 teams in the league, and Niagara takes it 3-2. Cam with 2 goals in the game winner. Kanye picks up 2 of his own for Chicago, and Zaz gets a goalie goal and goes 11 for 13. Not his best night goaltending wise, but when you pick up a goal, you never can get mad at it. Other stats, Arden picks up an assist. Nathan, nothing to speak of. Again, he's been really lacking in the point total area this season. Patriot goes 15 for 18, 833. Not a terrible game there for him. 3 goals against, though, obviously not the greatest. Optic and Eclipse both get 2 assists. That they're pass heavy, not necessarily pass heavy, but more deflection heavy, up the wall type of strategy has been working for him, and it's getting them all a lot of. Okay, I'm going insane. Anyway, it's working well for them, and they're all getting a lot of points out of it. That concludes the regular season. The standings are as follows, though, which I'll go over whether each team disappointed, exceeded, or met their expectations. The Vikings completely failed. I see you outside that fucking wall. I know that's sports, too. So they completely disappointed their expectations. Reigning Cup champs, expected to do really well this season. They play one game, lose, and forfeit the rest of the season. Not a good year at all. And the team's getting axed after the year. Players are going to go their separate ways. So, not exactly a good season. I mean, whoever takes over the franchise has the first overall pick, though. So there's that if anyone in this draft ends up being decent. Grand Rapids, you started with a win, and you lost the last 7 games. What happened? It's really interesting for me, too, because on paper, this team's not that bad. You have Coops, who was a promising rookie, Mysterious Fish, who had a strong year last year, ended up being an all-star for a pretty terrible Grand Rapids team then, too, right? So, I don't understand where it went wrong. Sports for Memes had a good year, ended up being a Vezina finalist. So, for me, it's just that third man, and Coops just wasn't as advertised. It's not that he was horrible, but he had a bad rookie year, and the team's not coming back for next season. So, I don't know where these guys go. Where do they find a home? So, it's huge disappointment. I had high expectations for them after that win against Hartford. I thought they were taking a step in the right direction. You got a scrappy win against a decent team. So I thought they were going to do well, but they ended up just falling flat, really. Just not a ton to speak of. Okay, next up, the Montreal Moose. I thought this team was going to be the one who went 0-8. But it ended up being the Vikings, who I don't think anyone had going 0-8. But they ended up picking a few late wins. They ended up winning 3 in a row to end the regular season, sneak into that last playoff spot. And honestly, looking back, they gave it a pretty good fight, too, in their playoff series compared to their, what people expected. 3-5-0, a lot better than Grand Rapids going 1-6-1. And then they were pretty close to catching up to Hartford as well. Only 1 point separated those two. And honestly, for Matt, big props to him. He rebuilt this team from basically nothing. And you know what? They still might not be great, but he's setting up for the future under the new branding next season. Young team. They clearly like playing with each other, even if it's not. Even if the results aren't always there, you can tell it's a good locker room. So fair play to him for building that. They get into the playoffs, are unfortunately eliminated, but it's a great season for them compared to how people thought that they were going to do and how they started, right? Hartford, they go 3-4-1. They salvage their season a little bit at the end, but end up only getting 1 actual win. The other 2 because of forfeits from the Vikings. I'd say they met their expectations. This team's just okay. That's all they are. They got a great upset win there towards the end on Halifax. And they got a decent overtime loss as well, but to drop that game to Grand Rapids at the start, I just kind of knew that this team really wasn't going to go anywhere. And I was right. They just weren't that good all along. They were fine. They hung in most games. But you could tell they just weren't going to do anything come playoff time. All right, next up, 4th, the Halifax Highlanders, going 4-0. Finished 4th in the league, too. A lot of 4s. Um, Up and down year. That's the best way I can put it. Started really bad, got a few wins in a row though. Drop a bad one to Hartford um, to end off the regular season, but clearly that ended up not mattering come playoffs. Not the worst season for how they started. It's not definitely not the worst. You would have liked one of those wins though over a Chicago, a Boston, a Niagara. You'd like one of those, of course, and of course the Hartford win. But up and down year, not the worst. Um, just could have been better. I'd say around met expectations. Maybe disappointed a little bit, but is what it is. Okay, next up, third, the Boston Redcoats go 6-1-1. This team was kind of under the radar, I feel like, for a lot of people most of the year because they went for about 3 weeks without playing a game. So everyone kind of forgot they existed, but they started off the season really well, played a lot of games, won a lot. Um, the only concerning thing, of course, is the losses are against the two better teams in the standings. So are they going to be able to turn it around in the playoffs and beat them this time? Maybe. We'll see. Um, I'd say they met their expectations. You know, they made the Cup final last year, kept most of the team around. You bring Chronix back instead of being a coach. He's a player. Was pretty good. Finished fourth in the Vezina race, and then you had Hockeyman, kept him around. Was the starter last year. Ended up being more of a backup this year. Great backup though. Um, then you have, of course, Cyrus and Landon, keeping those two around. That's obviously big. And you bring in Jeff as that other skater for the end of the season. A lot of people were critical of the Spines trade, who they got rid of, and including me. I was probably the most critical, but it's ended up working out pretty well. Just been awesome for Boston so far, but it's just a matter of getting it done in the playoffs now. With some of these guys, especially Landon, like guy just hasn't found any playoff success, and really neither is Chronix. So this is like not necessarily like do or die or like they have to do well, but they also kind of have to do well. They have high expectations here. Big playoff series upcoming, of course, for them, but we'll see how it goes. Number two, the Niagara Knights miss out on the President's Trophy purely because of goal differential. It kind of sucks. They finished 7-1-0. Great season for them. They not necessarily overperformed, but they did a little bit better than I was expecting. Aklipa, great bounce back year for him. Cam, we know what he does. He sits at the blue line and just waits for his teammates to pass it. Optic's been fine in that playmaker role. We'll see how he does defensively whenever they play against a good offensive team. And then Zaz was just held it down. Vezina winner all year in net. Just was excellent all around. And then finally, first, the Chicago Americans also going 7-1-0, and of course getting the President's Trophy because of that goal differential. You know, this team, I think we all expected to be where they are. I think they met their expectations. Arden, Nathan, Patriot, and Kanye. I mean, that's about the best lineup you can get. I mean, you can't really get much better. So, I think we all kind of expected them to be here. But good for them, though, not getting in their own heads or anything. And they made it happen. They won the President's Trophy. They have a playoff bye. We'll see what they do with it, though. Big playoff series upcoming against Boston. So, playoff picture in round one, it was the Montreal Moose facing the Boston Redcoats. We'll go over that series right now. In the first game, it was not a good one. The less said about that one for the Moose, the better. Boston wins 9-0. Cyrus, 4 goals, 2 assists. Landon, 3 goals and 3 assists. Jeff with 2 goals, 3 assists. Chronix goes 2 for 2, gets the shutout. No real stats to speak of. DJ didn't have a good day, going 17 for 26, 653 save percentage, and 9 goals against. A few penalty minutes there for Brycey Boy. I mean, that's about what you were expecting, though. I mean, they just won 10-0 earlier in the regular season, and they didn't. This is not a good Moose lineup. Looking at it right now, it just wasn't very good. So Boston leads 1-0 in their own barn. They go back there for game 2, and they win again, but a little bit less comfortable this time, 6-1. Still a pretty big blowout, but not nearly as much as 9. Jeff finishes as the first star with 3 goals and 2 assists. Cyrus with 2 goals and goes 3 for 4 in between the pipes. Landon picks up a goal and 2 assists. Bit of a quiet day for him. And Brycey Boy gets the lone goal for Montreal. Gray goes 9 for 14 in net, 942 save percentage, and 5 goals against. Again, just not a good lineup here. Dude, I know that is you. Sports, fuck off. Holy shit. Get it through your head. So, good game for Boston. I mean, a win's a win. You're never going to complain about a 5-goal win. But at the same time, you could have done a little bit better. I think. I mean, that thought's surely going to be in the back of their minds. But a win's a win. Not a good Moose roster here, but they do turn it around here in Game 3, where Boston does win and close out the series on the road with a 2-1 win. Landon picks up the first star with a goal and an assist. DJ Hockey goes 18 for 20. Great day for him, 900 save percentage and 2 goals against. Jeff picks up the other goal for the Redcoats. Chronix goes 2 for 3, 666 save percentage. Not a good one for him. 1 goal against. Zebra Orange picks up the goal for the Moose, making his season debut after being traded from the Vikings. He looks good, and they're keeping him around. So we'll see what this lineup can do. They're still young, got a lot of developing to do, but they got potential, and they're showing it. They gave it a good fight here in this Game 3. Boston closes it out, as they should, but got to give them credit, man. They fought like a playoff team here, and they didn't make it easy on Boston. They goal late or mid in the third period, midway through the third, I believe, to retake the lead there for Boston, but overall, you can't be disappointed here if you're the Moose, and you got to be excited for the future. So Boston advances. They will play the President's Trophy winning Chicago Americans in the second round. Should be fun. Should be a great series. I'm excited for it for sure. In terms of who wins, I'm not even going to make a prediction because that series could surely go either way. So I'm not going to make any predictions on it. Good chance it happens tomorrow. It'll get started tomorrow. Same thing with the Canadian Division Conference Final as well. Speaking of the Canadian Division, let's jump to the Hartford Bucks taking on the Halifax Highlanders series. Game 1, Halifax a bit shorthanded. They run it with Q, SEP, Emotion, and Kazu. Kazu playing skater, though. Worth mentioning. SEP goes in between the pipes, goes 5 for 6 for an 833 save percentage. Halifax wins 3-2. Emotion, 2 goals, 2 penalty minutes as well. Kazu gets a goal and an assist. Not what I was expecting at all from him at skater, gotta say. I mean, the guy's not exactly known for being a good skater. So, interesting one. But, good for Halifax. Okay, and my mic's just died. Good win for Halifax. And Atomic picks up 2 goals for Hartford. 2 early goals, mind you, for Hartford. They had a 2-0 lead, and in the final 250 seconds, the Highlanders score 3 to end it in regulation. You can't do that in a playoff game, man. You just can't. You could have ran away with that one, or at least taken it to overtime. Oh man, that's just rough to see. Even as someone who's on the Islanders, you can't do that. That just can't happen. Not in the playoffs, let alone a regular season game. Oh my gosh. That's a tough way for them to go out. Atomic and Sage each get goals in that one, I guess. I don't know. The stats are counted wrong for that. I have no clue. But yeah, the rest of the stats we already went over. Good game for Halifax. Good comeback win to take a 1-0 series lead, and they play again. Game 2. Halifax wins 2-0. Husky picks up goal and assist, aka me. Yippee. Kazu goes 7 for 7 for a shutout with an assist. That game happening earlier today. Q picks up an assist as well, playing with their full strength lineup were the Highlanders in this one. No stats to speak of for the Bucks, aside from Gabby Hockey going 11 for 13 for an 846 with 2 goals against. Not a bad day at all, especially with a pretty decent offensive team in the Highlanders. Game 3, to ice the series, the Highlanders go to Hartford and win it 3-0. Tiger, aka Emotion, picks up 3 goals and goes 6 for 6 in net in the end. Ends up stealing Kazu's stats. Me, Husky, gets 3 assists. Gabby goes 15 for 18 for an 833 and 3 goals against. Had no help this game. There was 0 offense from the Bucks. 4 combined penalty minutes between WA50 and Atomic. No stats for Sage. And Halifax advances to the second round where they will face the Niagara Knights. Should be a decent series, I think. I think it'll be alright. Should be a lot of fun. Yeah, it's honestly, I think these conference finals have a chance to be really, really good. In terms of the finals, I don't know who's going to move on. So I'm not going to make predictions. It's not how it's going to go. But I guess now we can go over the awards. So, regular season awards. Defensive Player of the Year for Best Defenseman goes to Cyrus of the Redcoats. Well deserved. I mean, he was on fire all season long. Had a ton of great statistics, a lot of goals, a lot of assists, and just was producing for his team really well. The other finalists, Optic, not really known for being a defenseman. He's more of a playmaker, more as like a second winger almost. Doesn't provide a ton on the back end, and Cyrus, I believe, had better defensive or offensive stats anyway. And then Nathan just wasn't producing enough points to really win it. It was fine defensively, don't get me wrong. They were great defensively, allowed the least goals in the league, I believe. But just couldn't get it done offensively, and it's basically best offensive defenseman. So, yeah, well deserved for Cyrus, for sure. Vezina Trophy goes to Zaz. He repeats for his second in a row. Well deserved. I mean, had the least goals against, had the most shutouts, had the best stats. Can't argue with it. His team went 7-1. Can't complain at all. Guy played great all season. Nothing to really debate either. The other goalies were good, but just not quite nearly as good. Next up, Rookie of the Year from the Chicago Americans was Arden B. Pretty easily, but I mean, other guys like Emotion and Moshi were involved as well. They both did really well compared to their expectations. Arden had the most expectations of the 3 without a doubt, and he produced. Actually led the league in assists as well, so we'll get back to that in a little bit, but was just by far the best rookie. And just did what he needed to do. Fit in well with the Chicago team as well, and led them to 7 wins and a playoff bye. So there's that. Best goaltending tandem goes to Chronix and Hockeyman of the Boston Redcoats. They were one of 2 teams to use an actual goalie tandem, so it makes the most sense. Both of them are pretty good, serviceable starters on really any team. So good for them. Very well deserved. I mean, the only other team who I think rotated goalies was the Bucks. I don't know if they're in that conversation for sure. All right, next, the President's Trophy, of course, goes to the Chicago Americans. We mentioned that earlier. I mean, you can't really debate on it if it's deserved or not. I mean, they pretty much ran through everybody but the Knights in that last game. So, big accomplishment for them. Now let's see what they can do come playoffs. Comeback Player of the Year goes to a clip. A great bounce back after a rough last season for the Highlanders. It was terrible. But comes in this year. He's been great in that system. But I think Niagara will agree that regular season doesn't matter. It's playoffs that matter. You gotta live up to the expectations that the league and that they have built up for themselves. 4th and 5th Man of the Year this season goes to WA50 of the Bucks. I mean, it's decently deserved. I think he played well in the limited games he got. I mean, just was a decent defenseman. Nothing really to complain about. Guys, about what you want out of a bench player. Just someone who can come on, play minutes, and play decent. And that's what he did. So fair play to him. Best general manager goes to Matt of the Montreal Moose for turning that sorry-ass team around. Good for him. I mean, it's not a good team. He started with the season with basically nobody. You still don't have a ton of talent on the roster, but you got players like Moshi and Zebra and Brightsy Boy still developing. You got DJ who's serviceable in net and had a bit of a bounce back year from his rough year last year with Grand Rapids. So it was, I mean, good for him though to build his team back through trades. I mean, that team was brutal to start, and they end up winning a few down the stretch and make the playoffs. End up not winning anything in them, but still, big accomplishment for them to even get there, considering where they were. Best playmaker, basically most assists award goes to Arden B. Pretty expected. Again, for him to shine like this as a rookie. I mean, it's been seen before, but it's been a while, for sure. I think the last rookie we really saw light the league up like this was probably Logical. And even then, he had a pretty tough rookie year, too, on the Quebec Nordiques. Best team player this season goes to DJ Hockey. I mean, good leader. Good person to, like, just kind of show the new guys the ropes throughout the year for the Moose. Good on him. You know, we love a good teammate. Oh my god. Patriots, relax. Don't take it personal, buddy. Alright, next up, where was I at? Dedication to Hockey award goes to Jeffrey LOL for retiring and unretiring about 12 times. Good on him, though, to keep coming back despite the puck lag issues that he had since the beginning of the year. Ends up with Boston. It ends up being a very... He finished top 5 or 7, at least, in points. So good on him. For show. Best general manager, we went over that. Best playmaker, sorry, I lost where I was. Okay, most goals goes to Kanye for the 3rd time in his career. Hasn't won it a ton. Not nearly as many as I thought, somehow. But he's always been first or second in that race for what it feels like forever. Another outstanding season to add to his resume. And he adds an MVP as well. That is his 5th or 4th, MVP. Probably should have been 5th realistically though. Nice one, Optic, for rigging the votes, man. Anyway, yeah, great year for Kanye. It took a while for him to heat up in some of the games, but once he got going, he was perfectly fine. And obviously for him, playoffs matter the most. You can ask him that, and like he'd answer. He doesn't care about the regular season. Doesn't care about awards. He didn't even know he won MVP belt till about earlier today, at about noon. So, I mean, guy just wants cups, and honestly, can't blame him. So that's it for the awards. Otherwise, not a whole lot else to go over. I mean, some of the draft orders starting to shake up. Vikings or whoever takes him over next season will get the 1st pick. Grand Rapids, whoever grabs their franchise, will have the 2nd overall pick. 3rd overall pick goes to the Moose. 4th goes to the Bucks, and obviously the rest has yet to be determined. So round 2, the conference finals between the Chicago Americans and Boston Redcoats, and on the other side, the Niagara Knights and Halifax Highlanders. Probably will get started tomorrow, I have to think. So should be a couple good series, I think. Should be a nice end to the season. By the time the next episode of this comes out, the conference finals will likely be over or almost over. So should be fun. But I think that's it. I think that's all I got to go over. Not a whole else really to talk about. So yeah, thanks for listening if you are. If not, screw you. You're the worst. I'm just playing. I love you. But yeah, that's it. That's all I got. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. We're at episode 3. Big record. You know, we haven't gotten there ever. So maybe we'll make it 4, guys. But that's it. Thanks for watching. Later. Shut up, Brendan Dick Wigmore.